comic industry was starting to age out at the same moment that the industry was beginning to expand radically. So pretty much all the kids of my generation who really loved comics got to try their hand at working in the business one way or another, if they were around New York. You know, kids like George Perez, who was going to high school in the Bronx while I was going to high school in Manhattan. Lots of names that you're less familiar with. Len Wein, Mark Wolfman on the writing side, who were a few years older than I was. Jerry Conway, about 5 years older than I was. We were all, if you will, neighborhood brats. And we hung around the office environment. We got to know the people in the business. And we got chances very, very young. Different ages for different people, different things. Some of the people got a chance, and it didn't work out particularly well, either to their taste, or they didn't have the exact skill the business wanted. So they went off and they did other wonderful things, or not so wonderful things in a few cases. And some of us just stayed forever because it was a very cool environment to be a part of. It's a little harder, I think, to break in as young today because the companies are bigger, they're a little more corporate. They probably would check to see that you had working papers or that they were doing it in a formal and appropriate fashion. But it still is a business of young people. You have a lot of particularly young artists coming into the field, and you have people coming in from everywhere. And the other thing that militates against the 14-year-old getting in, when I came in, you had to be in New York. So the pool you were picking from, New York's a big city, it's a big metropolitan area, but even if you draw the circle pretty widely, 20 million people, 25 million people in the metro area at the time, maybe. If you were the most talented artist in the world, but you happened to live in Singapore, there wasn't a chance in hell you were going to be able to work in American comics at that time. We had a little bit of work coming out of the Philippines because there was a studio set up there. That was about the only overseas work DC was buying. There was a studio in Spain that was providing a little bit of work to Warren. And I don't think there was a South American artist working in American comics. I don't think there was a French artist. There wasn't yet a British artist working in American comics. Well, now we're looking everywhere. You can get the work in as quickly and as easily with the internet. You have access to things like Google to help solve translation problems, communication problems. So they're not as likely to need to get a 14-year-old because they can pick from 3 billion people as opposed to 20 million people. And hopefully that's a part of why the standards of comics in America have been going up over the years, at least in terms of visual imagination.
What is the future of comics, Paul? I mean, is it going to be like online, or is it going to be print?
Tell me what your unborn child is going to want. It's very clear that the young people of today include a large number of people who want to be entertained through a screen, whether that's a tablet or a smartphone or a traditional computer screen. Someone somewhere will come up with a form of comics that doesn't exist today, that is more entertaining displayed in a computer form than it is in a print form. I've not seen that yet. It may even exist now. It may be some kid in a basement in Singapore or in Iowa has come up with it. People may be looking at it, but I haven't seen it yet. I've seen things that are ways of displaying a print comic on a screen, or of creating something that could be in print on a screen. appearing on a screen like most of the webcomics. I haven't yet seen a lot of interesting experiments that are only possible to tell as cartoon stories on a screen. When someone comes up with that, if they do, that will be an interesting new form of comics. Will it replace print? I don't know. I certainly hope not. I'm an old print guy. I like the smell and feel of print. I suspect it'll live alongside it at least for a generation. And then it's a question of what your kid's going to want.
We have about 5 minutes.